Xin chào các bạn, chào mừng tất cả các bạn đã đến với chương trình Lịch sử hào hùng, một chương trình được đặc biệt tạo ra bởi iCast giúp cho việc luyện tập nghe tiếng Anh trở nên thú vị hơn qua những chủ đề lịch sử. Để luyện tập tốt hơn, hãy cùng quét mã bài tập ở góc phải màn hình hoặc click vào phần mô tả để luyện tập tốt nhất nhé. Ok, bắt đầu thôi!
During the years of resistance war against the Americans, the Cambodian rails was extremely important for purchasing weapons, food, and other supplies to be transported to the southern battlefields. Everything went smoothly under the reign of King Sihanouk. However, in 1970, when Lon Nol staged a coup, things became much more difficult. Specifically, Lon Nol issued new currency to nullify all the reals that Vietnam held. Lon Nol sent people to the work printing house to print notice about the currency exchange, and Chen Chi-nang, the manager of this printing house, was well aware of this. However, Lon Nol's troops had surrounded the entire printing house, so he couldn't inform his people. Fortunately, during these critical times, Chen Chi-nang's wife could still move around freely. Since she was of Cambodian descent, no one suspected her. Due to Lon Nol's complacency and Chen Chi-nang's instructions, she informed the Vietnamese soldiers to bring all the money back to Cambodia for the exchange. Thanks to this, the currency exchange was successful. However, the new problem was even more challenging. Not having money was bad enough, but having a pile of money was even worse. The Lon Nol government was now searching all their operational areas, and keeping a pile of money could lead to certain death if discovered. Transporting the money back to Vietnam for safekeeping was also impossible because the borders were sealed. Besides, without money to buy weapons and supplies, the soldiers had nothing to eat despite having money. Transporting it meant certain debt, but not transporting it also meant debt. The secretaries of the Central Office of South Vietnam, Phạm Hùng, immediately ordered that the money be brought back to Vietnam at all costs. The task was assigned to Mười Phi, Lữ Minh Châu, and Tư Can to transport the money through the numerous layers of Lon Nol's military control. The three of them came up with the ideas of wrapping the money in a large plastic bag, then covering it with another bag filled with fermented fish paste, a specialty of the Khmer people in Cambodia with a very strong odor. If someone wasn't used to it, they would be repelled from a distance, let alone approaching it. Confident in their plan, they filled the bags with the pungent fish paste, poked holes for the liquid to seep out, and assumed Lon Nol's soldiers would be too afraid to inspect it. However, if they were stopped at checkpoints, the 140 soldiers stationed there would ambush and protect the stinking bag at all costs. Fortunately, Plan B was not needed as everything went according to plan. The soldiers were indeed repelled by the smell and let them pass, thus safely transporting the money. Unfortunately, all our base in Cambodia was discovered and attacked. Despite this, the war continued, and money was still needed to sustain it. Most key personnel in the money route was exposed, except for Lữ Minh Châu. His task now was to return to Saigon from Cambodia and rebuild our network there to continue serving the revolution. But the crucial question was how to return to Saigon safely without being caught. As a straightforward person, having legitimate identification was necessary. Without it, entering Saigon was impossible. To obtain legal identification, Lữ Minh Châu devised a plan to pose as an overseas Vietnamese returning to find his lost family. He went to a Vietnamese expatriate's house on the Cambodian border and asked the host to take him by boat to their relatives in the south, then have them introduce him to the village head to explain his situation. Despite having a connection, the village head was still skeptical and demanded proof of his lost family, including his hometown, occupation, family details in Cambodia, and documentation. Fortunately, Lưu Minh Châu could provide all the necessary proofs, including photos with his family and business license from his import-export company in Phnom Penh. Despite logically proving his story, the village head remained suspicious and handed him over to the police for interrogation. This was the most challenging part, as these was the most astute minds of Saigon government at that time. They took turns questioning him in Cambodian, English, and French. Luckily, Lưu Minh Châu was fluent in all three languages, answering fluently and consistently. After a month and 4 days of interrogation, the police found no inconsistencies in his statements. He was granted legal identification to operate in Saigon. His skill in concealing information was so proficient that even after being recognized as a legitimate citizen, the village head admitted he no longer suspected Lưu Minh Châu of being a Viet Cong, considering him a businessman fluent in multiple languages, which seems inconsistent with being a Viet Cong. Thanks to the ingenuities of the money route officials, even by the end of the war, no one knew about its existence. Even the sophisticated intelligence of the CIA had no idea about this money route, only having a vague notions about the Ho Chi Minh Trail on land and sea. They knew we were transporting money into the south, but couldn't explain how. It is understandable why even the best CIA brains couldn't figure out our money route, as it was so secret that our people didn't even know it existed. It wasn't until decades after the war that the achievement of those involved in the money route was recognized. Specifically, on April 28, 2009, the president decided to confer the title of Hero of the People's Armed Force on the Special Finance Committee under the Central Office of South Vietnam, code number N2683, part of the State Bank of Vietnam's B-29 Special Fund, for their outstanding achievements during the anti-American resistance war.
Chương trình xin được phép tạm dừng tại đây. Đừng quên ấn like và subscribe nhé.